I am very glad and I would like to express my thankfulness to the members of organizing committee. Morigaon College is situated in the heart of the district headquarters and also established in 1st July 1964. Now this college has emerged as a premier institution of higher education in the middle part of Assam. This college is affiliated to Guwahati University and has got deliberation, sir. I offer my sincere gratitude to you. With a due regards, I must offer my thankfulness to our President of Governing Body, Professor Suresh Chandra Kolita sir. Actually, he has guided me and he is my like mentor. We are very lucky to have him as our President of Governing Body and we expect more and more, sir.
Of its very nature, would stand as a body of evidential statements testifying to the variegated catastrophe befalling human life and the human attempts made at overcoming them. Had once said, I quote, "We have art in order not to die of the unquote. Literature is that something US. Dr. Bhattacharjee is also one of 5 distinguished members of the International Advisory Board of the International Theodore Dreiser Society, Philadelphia, US. A trilingual poet and columnist with more than 3 decades of teaching experience, Dr. Bhattacharjee has about 20 volumes of books published and more than 2,000 articles published in a number of national dailies and online papers. His books, Francis Scott Fitzgerald, Quest for Pattern and Perception, Theodore Dreiser, Going Beyond Naturalism, Living with Time, a collection of 500 articles on literature and society, are some of his critically acclaimed works. He is the editor of 2 scholarly journals, namely I big microphones. Dr. Bhattacharjee also has a number of awards to his credit. He was awarded the Literamo Golden Star Award, INSC Research Excellence Award, International Education Award in the year 2020, and Asian Education Award in 2021. His poetic debut, The Ballad of the Bleeding Bubbles, has been translated into Assamese as Roktakto Burburonir Malika by Assam Publishing Company. His best-selling collection of poems, Oleander Blooms, made him well known as the Oleander Poet. He has a number of novels and collection of short stories in Bengali, which include Boto Brikho, Shat Sagorer Monimukto, Lord Ganesher Dugdhopan, Chotoder Choto Golpo, to mention a few. His latest publication, which saw the light of the day on 14 June 2021, is less than a month old. And it makes him one of the pioneers of COVID literature from South Asia. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate him for his book, 6 Feet Distant, Looking Back to Lockdown, which is a collection of 37 short stories on the pandemic days, published by Author House, US. It is the first of its kind in narrativizing human experience of lockdown days from South Asia. Although a globe-trotter, at heart he is very close to Assam. For he started his career at Mankachar College, Dhubri,
Yes.
where he had worked as the head of the Department of English from 1982 to 1985, and was then a columnist of the Sentinel and the Assam Tribune. I welcome you, sir, to this webinar. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we are looking forward to listening to you. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar, good afternoon, and my cordial thanks to Professor Sharadasri for giving me a huge encomium for what I have done and not done. because I think that I have not done my best thing yet. Best things are yet to come. Because with age and experience, I may write some more things which I have dreamt of writing. But still, it's an encouragement for me that you have told the participants here. Especially, I have seen here and met here five distinguished noble souls. Dr. Lilakanta Bhattakur, Honorable Principal, Professor Jogen Chandra Kolita, President, Morigao College, Dr. Hemlata Sharma, Vice Principal, Dr. Diganto Kumar Nath, HOD, Department of English, Dr. Ranjit Kalita, Coordinator, IQAC, and many others whom I am not seeing here. But I see that almost 188 participants are here. Maybe scholars, maybe teachers, maybe professors from different colleges, and researchers and students. Even many from our postgraduate department of English also are there in this webinar. This seminar or this webinar is very, very significant because it is organizing thoughts and deliberations, especially related to pandemic. And nowadays what is happening, whenever we are going to talk anything, we are going to discuss anything, everything is coming under the scanner of this one small virus, COVID-19. And this COVID pandemic, lockdown, COVID pandemic, these are almost becoming a cliche for our thinking people, for our passionate people, those who are writing poems, novels, articles, and other essays. All of us cannot avoid this particular feature, particular phenomenon that has grasped the whole of the globe in its clasp. And you cannot get rid of this COVID-19 pandemic situation. So naturally, when you have invited me to talk on this, I think it's a huge opportunity for me. It's a big opportunity for me to talk on man's battle with nature. Because, modern man talks of a battle with nature, forgetting that if he won the battle, he would find himself on the losing side. Because the moment you are fighting with nature, then if you win, it means nature is defeated. And the moment nature is defeated, man is defeated. Because first con- connecting, connectivity has, when Wordsworth was very much appreciating London in his Upon Westminster Bridge, he was telling that earth has not anything to show more fair. The question is, what is that bridge? What is that London city? It is man-made, but it is, to use the paradox theory, the language of paradox, as Glenn Brooks was telling it in his essay, in his book. The language of paradox is here. Man has made London. It is not nature's gift, but it is alive. It is not dead. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still. Wordsworth is telling. The houses are asleep. It means man-made houses are imagined as living beings like nature. So art has not anything more fair to show. It is in fact not nature, but man-made nature, man-made environment. I begin my talk with this poem, Upon Westminster Bridge, to locate, to situationalize this eco-criticism theory, because in discussing eco-criticism, this paradox is very important. This paradox means man makes civilization, and when man makes civilization, it is the advancement of human beings. But as Macaulay says, the paradox is, as civilization advances, poetry almost necessarily declines. Means literature is no longer possible when civilization is advancing. It means what Macaulay was telling, he was showing the paradox of man-made situation, and nature is detached from man. And the moment man is detached, nature poetry is lost. but it is not so. Today we see when pandemic has confined us within the house, it is the nature that is improved. Nature has come quite fresh. Nature looks more fresh in pandemic times. So there is a paradox always, and that is why we are a little confused, because romantics did not like the industrial revolution because it is man-made and urbanized the idyllic environment. It is not accepted by the romantics. But pandemic, apparently it seems that, has done no harm to the relationship between man and nature. It is only apparently, I told you. So don't think that the answer is nature is now more healthy, more flourishing when man is confined in their homes and cannot do the ravages anymore to nature. That is the apparent situation, that nature is now more and more fresh, more and more healthy. Even in the South Antarctica, the rare species of creature have started coming. The rare migratory birds are coming back to Alipur Zoo and Kaziranga Sanctuary or any other places. But this is not the deeper reality. In situating myself in the eco-criticism theory, I will refer to a few poets and writers, and not all because of time constraints. I will refer to Walt Whitman, I will refer to Thoreau, I will refer to Shakespeare, I will refer to Wordsworth, Thomas Hardy, and Rabindranath Tagore to situate eco criticism, because eco criticism is a study of literature and environment from an interdisciplinary point of view, where literature scholars analyze texts that illustrate environmental concerns and examine the various ways literature treats the subject of nature. Environmental criticism or eco criticism, which is in London, in England, it is called green criticism, is rapidly emerging field. And this eco criticism is a literary study that considers the relationship that human beings have to their environment. Eco-criticism is a term used for the observation and study of the relationship between the literature and the arts environment. It takes an interdisciplinary point of view by analyzing the works of authors, researchers, and poets in the context of environmental issues and nature. Eco-criticism gives importance to the relationship between human beings and nature, and how human beings are affecting nature and vice versa. Means how man is affecting nature and man is being affected by nature. Both the perspectives are under consideration. Eco-criticism guides us to examine the world around us and critiquing the mannerisms of society in the treatment of nature. Eco-criticism is a study of literature, and the word eco-criticism traces back to William Rueckhart's 1978 essay, Literature and Ecology, an experiment in eco-criticism. And apparently, it lay dormant in critical vocabulary until the 1989 Western Literature Association meeting. And when Cheryl Glotfelty, at the time he was a graduate at Cornell University, as an ethnologist and comparative literature scholar, Meeker helped to pioneer the critical discussion of eco-criticism in what he called literary ecologists. Following Meeker, Rueckert in 1996 first published his book, that was 1978. He actually coined the term eco-criticism, arguing for a way to find the grounds upon which this two man and nature relationship was explored. The word eco-criticism is a lens of theory, literary theory, which is an art-centered approach to literary studies. The central premise of an eco-critical perspective is that human culture is connected to the physical world, and humans inevitably affect and are affected by the natural world. Very interestingly, what happens, the first wave of eco-criticism was rooted in a deep ecology, tended to see nature and human beings as opposed to one another. It's a very important thing. Though you think that eco-criticism means the relationship between man and nature, but it is also some kind of friendly, some kind of inimical relationship. Because the moment man is affecting nature, man is harming nature, man is destroying nature, that is also coming under the eco-criticism. So the moment when the first wave came, people were enjoying, and they were trying to enjoy nature and as a luxury, for example, now when we feel bored at home, we go to nature, we go for a picnic to a natural site and sin, and there we go, and there we make our cooking and everything, and nature is little harmed also, because we sometimes break the branches of trees, we sometimes kill a deer, we sometimes kill the make the elephants wounded, we do all these things out of sport. So what is a game to you is a death to us, like that story of Aesop's fable. We do things to nature. But this proper response of environmental criticism should be to help, not to destroy, but to protect the natural environment from the depredations of human culture. I will tell you some of the texts. I will discuss some of the texts where you will find how man has destroyed, spoiled nature. And in Shakespeare's Tempest or King Lear, or in Walden Pond, Leaves of Grass by Whitman, Hardy's novel Far from the Madding Crowd, or Darwin's Origin of Species and Tagore's poetry, we will find nature is discussed as an eco-critical perspective. And before that, before starting that, I will begin with one poem which many of you, and especially the English literature students, they know this poem. It is Tintern Abbey of William Wordsworth, where Wordsworth is telling about the presence of nature. I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns and the round ocean and the living air and the blue sky, and in the mind of man a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thoughts, and rolls through all things. This is very important. This is called nature, ever prevailing nature. Therefore, I am still a lover of the meadows and the woods and mountains, and of all that we behold from this green earth, of all the mighty world of eye and ear, both what they have create and what perceive, well pleased to recognize in nature and the language of the sense, the anchor of my purest thoughts, the nurse, the guide, the guardian of my heart and soul, of all my moral being. I begin with this poem intentionally to make you understand the basic essence of this eco-critical theory, the relationship between man, mind of man, and nature. The purest thoughts, nature can be the guide, the guardian of our heart and soul, of all our moral being. Now, you see how this is destroyed, how this is restored in the pandemic times. Well, Shakespeare himself was in lockdown during the plague of England, and he was writing many dramas during that period. Even Chaucer, even Boccaccio in his Decameron, even Chaucer in his Canterbury Tales was writing about these lockdown experiences and how man was going to nature. And Boccaccio was giving some prescription for the characters, that you must go for 14 days to nature. This is very important. Today also we have 14 days quarantine. And it is very coincidental that even Boccaccio in his stories, Decameron, was suggesting that kind of thing. 14 days in quarantine in the village. We don't know why. Maybe nature was acting as a panacea, as a remedy for all the ills that pandemic situation is creating. Shakespeare created conflicting views of nature and what is natural. So the moment I'm in analyzing eco-critical perspective of Shakespeare's King Lear or Tempest, I have to see what the evil characters was making us feel in King Lear. For example, Edmund. Edmund is Gloucester's unnatural son. The word nature, unnatural, they are very important in King Lear. And nature was not very much convenient used by Edmund. He is an unnatural son of Gloucester. And for him, nature is a malevolent goddess who provides him with bad nature necessary to challenge the status quo, the good nature. And King Lear became mad, insane. And the storm scene, which means a mess in nature, which means a chaos in nature, reconciles finally the unnatural things in nature. And after the storm, Lear gets back his sanity. At the old age, King Lear became mad. Now he gets back his sanity in the lap of nature. Edgar is the positive force. And in the company of Edgar and nature, Lear regains his sanity. So Lear's composed state of mind from lunacy is also a contribution of nature. Again, you see in the Tempest, man dominates nature with magic wand. But finally, magic wand is broken. Because Shakespeare wanted to say that magic cannot remove our ills. Finally, you have to go back to reality. And where the panacea, as you like it, go to as you like it, you'll find the panacea that Shakespeare is giving us. Nature, Arden, forest of Arden, it is giving us the good forces. It is giving us the sanity. When all characters were bad, when all characters were seized by the evil perspectives, they were all restored into good characters when all went to the forest of Arden. And forest of Arden is nature symbolized. And man is living in nature. It is not important that I live in nature. Not important. What is important is that how I interact with nature. That is important. Not what I'm living in nature. But I'm destroying the trees. I'm killing the animals. I'm doing other things. This is not important. So the moment when you find that how you behave in nature, that is the subject matter of eco-criticism. Because man affected by nature and man affecting nature, both the sides are to be considered. Walt Whitman was a famous romantic poet in American literary history in the 19th century. And Leaves of Grass is his representative poetry anthology from a special angle of eco-criticism by using the related eco-critical theories. Living in the countryside in his childhood, he cultivated deep love for nature. Secondly, his different working experiences in adulthood also contributed to the formation of his ecological ideas. Every kind of beings on the earth, including human beings, should be carefully valued. Each being possesses his own intrinsic value. It's very important because the moment you are giving importance to each thing in nature, this is only highlighted by Whitman. And Whitman was giving this for creating the balance in nature. And this eco-criticism, if you think that the relationship, what Whitman was emphasizing is that people should protect them and their living space rather than damaging or interfering with the living environment only by using the measurement of human beings' interests. Today, I already started with telling that because man is in the home and nature is now becoming fresh, looking fresh, because man is no longer destroying nature and man is no longer polluting nature. So nature is more and more pure. But human beings are not superior to any other beings in nature, cannot impose their will on any of them. Each of them has the equal right with human beings to live and exist. Of nature is therefore his ecological dream, or ecotopia we can call it. It is explored in his poem after poem. He, in his Vers Libre that he wrote in Lips of Grass, he was giving us this ecotopia. It is not utopia. It is ecotopia, the ecological dream of equality, equal right. Nature has the equal right. Everything in nature has the equal right. In the Bible, in the religious concept, there is an idea that God is above all, then man, then nature, animals, etc., flora and fauna. But this is not to be accepted. Each thing is equal in nature. If you think that you are superior, then you will destroy. If you are superior, you will dominate. Domination is not good. The moment you dominate, the balance is lost. Balance of the hierarchy is lost. And this interrelatedness, Whitman went farther to this interrelatedness by using his amazing imagination so that the importance of the sustainable development is emphasized. Besides, Whitman loves nature and cares about society as well as the people, human beings and nature, the inter relationship, the harmonious relationship that should be advocated for going back to nature. And romantics also always told, return to nature, return to nature. So this returning to nature for attaining the spiritual peace and drawing inspiration from nature so that they can realize this beauty of this relationship. I am reading some lines from Song of Myself. I'm in quote. Well, Whitman beautifully writes, the atmosphere is not a perfume. It has no taste of its distillation. It is odorless. It is in my mouth forever. I am in love with it. I will go to the bank by the wood and become undisguised and naked. I am mad for it to be in contact with me. Song of Myself is wonderful because of these lines, because of this kind of idea, this kind of inclination of an eco-geographical consciousness. Please wait, I'm coming again. Just 1 second.
Excellent lecture. Dr. Bothakur.
Yes, sir.
বৰ ভাল লাগিছে মানে ৰিয়েলি কেনেকুৱা আমি very nice মানে একদম super.
Yes, I have come back. Actually, now what is happening in the preface of the 1855 edition of the Lips of Grass, there is very important thing that what he was giving us, the eco-geographical consciousness. And Whitman champions response to his country spirit. And the way he does this is that he incarnates its geography and natural life. For a poet, it is a very important thing. He is not outside the geographical contours of knowledge. And natural life, rivers, lakes, these all are coming into his imagination. And we might imagine the poet after Whitman's heart is manifesting or being a manifestation of the natural geography of America. The ways in which Whitman conceives of the close relationship between literature and the physical environment prefigures in many respects of the later development of eco-criticism. I'm not telling that eco-criticism is only just a relationship between man and nature. You see how the interactions of human beings are very important. Not as it seems that he sees a sharp distinction between human nature. It is always a relation vis-a-vis humans interacting with and sometimes exploiting nature, sometimes loving nature. So he mentions agriculture, he means mining, ports, in the very same breath. Nature shapes the poet, and so too does the poet shape nature. We see the interaction. Nature is shaping us. We are shaping nature. This is beautiful interaction between two forces that make eco-criticism possible. And this is a kind of, we say, you are my enemy, you are my friend, like that. So nature is sometimes our enemy, sometimes our friend. The moment we become civilized, we hate nature. We don't like nature. We don't like the primitive things. We in the name of civilization, we want to destroy nature. We want to make our houses. As I mentioned in the very beginning, The Language of Paradox by Glenn Brooks, that is the London houses, London Bridge, upon Westminster Bridge. It is excellent, beautiful. It is an art's best thing that art is presented. But this is also man-made. This is not natural. But what just say this is nature. And there he mentioned the houses. Houses are made by men. It is not nature. If you are in nature, there is no house. But the moment you make a house out of the bamboos, out of the trees, then you are destroying nature. So the moment you are planting a tree, it is nature. The moment you are cutting the tree and making your table, dining table, fashionable dining table at your house, it is not nature, it is civilization. But both things are important. And how this is balanced by the poet in the eco-critical study, that is very important. Whitman is situating himself clearly within this ambience. He was using the transcendental tradition where contact with nature points beyond it. However, it is clear that in Whitman we see a deep understanding of the material ecological forces which shape humans and their literature. How? Because he told everything is equal, everything is the same importance, from God to man to nature to animal. Each and everyone has its own place, own importance. Even an elephant or a rhino of Kaziranga is important as a human being in Guwahati city. That is very important. So this is very important thing, that I am my own importance. The elephant has its own importance. The tiger has its own importance. It is not that man can supersede, man can dominate a tiger. It is not important. You cannot dominate anyone. Domination is not accepted in eco-critical theory of literature. Man versus nature. Man with nature. Both the perspectives are the basic discussion point